Let's face it, when people talk about 1960s musicals, it's always The Sound of Music and West Side Story hogging the spotlight. But what if I told you Gene Kelly himself thought some of the real magic was happening on the sidelines? Musicals bursting with invention, heart, and toe-tapping spirit, yet criminally overlooked. Why do we forget the musicals that dared to dance outside the lines? Get ready, because these next 17 movies aren't just rare, they're pure cinematic spells in disguise. Summer Holiday, 1963. What if I told you Britain made a musical that outglittered Hollywood for sheer sun-soaked optimism? Summer Holiday isn't just a Cliff Richard vehicle. It's a Technicolor rocket ride across Europe, loaded with breezy tunes and pure 60s innocence. The setup, a double-decker London bus, 4 working-class lads, and a spontaneous vacation-turned road trip from London to Athens. What could possibly go wrong? Well, plenty, especially after they pick up a trio of runaway girls and a runaway pop star. But Summer Holiday doesn't care about realism. It's all about fantasy, those vivid, color-drenched streets, that irresistible title track, and choreography that feels like a flash mob decades before the term existed. Cliff Richard, the British answer to Elvis, bounces from one madcap scenario to another, singing, dancing, and making you wish you could drop everything and join him. The impact? It became a UK box office smash, but Americans barely blinked. For Gene Kelly, who believed in the power of dance to break borders, Summer Holiday was proof that joy is universal, and the world is a stage, even if it's just a big red bus. So why did Hollywood ignore it? Maybe they were too busy counting their Oscars. But real musical lovers know, some of the best numbers happen on the open road. The Young Girls of Rochefort, 1967. Imagine if MGM's golden age collided with French pop art, and you've got The Young Girls of Rochefort. This is the Technicolor daydream, where everything, even heartbreak, comes with a tap dance and a pastel splash. Jacques Demy's follow-up to The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is deliriously light on its feet. 2 sisters, played by real-life sisters, Catherine Deneuve and Françoise d'Orléac, long for romance and escape from their sleepy seaside town. Enter carnival performers, a piano player, and, wait for it, Gene Kelly himself, speaking French and cutting loose like he owns the place. The songs by Michel Legrand are so catchy, you'll be humming them for weeks. But here's the real magic. Demy's camera never sits still. Every frame pops with movement. Sailors leap off benches, shopkeepers pirouette with baguettes, and even heartbreak gets dressed up in the brightest colors imaginable. In France, this film is a beloved classic. In the English-speaking world, it's a cult oddity. Kelly adored how the film made everyday life into a musical fantasy, where rain never falls and love stories are always just a dance number away. Don't blink, or you'll miss the single most joyous parade in 60s cinema. Rochefort isn't a place, it's a state of mind. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, 1964. How do you make heartbreak shimmer like a diamond? Start by turning every word into a song. The Umbrellas of Cherbourg isn't your average musical. There's no spoken dialogue. Every heartbreak, every I love you, every argument is sung, creating an opera out of the everyday. Catherine Deneuve, barely 20, plays Geneviève, a shopgirl whose love affair with a mechanic gets derailed by war and fate. What sets this film apart isn't just Michel Legrand's lush score or the candy-colored set design. It's the emotional honesty that sneaks up on you. The story is simple, almost mundane, but the presentation is anything but. Each frame looks like a watercolor brought to life. No, you won't leave humming show tunes, but you might find yourself weeping in your car 2 days later. The film was a sensation in France, but American audiences wanted tap shoes and happy endings. Gene Kelly, ever the boundary breaker, admired Demy's refusal to play it safe. He called it pure magic, because it proved that musicals didn't need Hollywood gloss to be unforgettable. They just needed heart, color, and courage. If you've never watched a musical in French, this is where you start. Bring tissues. Star. 1968. Julie Andrews wasn't always Mary Poppins or Maria. In Star, She throws off the apron and jumps headlong into the razzle-dazzle of showbiz as Gertrude Lawrence, a Broadway legend you've probably never heard of. Here's the twist. Star is a musical biography that refuses to play it safe. It's sprawling, extravagant, and loaded with musical numbers that demand attention. Andrews gets to show her comedic chops, her dramatic side, and, of course, her singing. This time, with a knowing wink. The film barrels through Lawrence's love affairs, career highs, and backstage meltdowns, all with a self-aware humor that was rare in the 60s. Critics at the time called it overblown, but time has been kind. The musical numbers, choreographed within an inch of their lives, pop with invention, and Andrews radiates charisma. Kelly saw in Star a reminder that the musical was evolving. Glitzier, riskier, a little more complicated. Sure, it's messy. But in the world of musicals, messy often means alive. Want to see Andrews as you've never seen her before? Star is the one. And that's not just nostalgia talking. That's the sound of musical theater kicking down its own door. Half a Sixpence, 1967. File this under musicals that make you believe in luck. Half a Sixpence is British, brash, and bursting with energy, starring Tommy Steele, a genuine pop sensation whose grin could power a small city. The story is simple. A poor draper's apprentice comes into money, falls for a rich girl, and learns that fortune isn't all it's cracked up to be. What makes this movie jump off the screen isn't plot, it's spectacle. The choreography is athletic, acrobatic, and flat-out fun. Steele leaps, spins, and mugs his way through toe-tapping numbers like Flash, Bang, Wallop. A showstopper that rivals anything on Broadway. But beneath the slapstick and sparkle is a surprisingly sharp satire of class and ambition in Edwardian England. Why did Gene Kelly rate it so highly? Because it captures the raw, infectious joy of performance. No pretense, no irony, just pure, foot-stomping delight. It never pretends to be anything but what it is. A party that just happens to have a plot. And if you think musicals can't be both silly and smart, Half a Sixpence is ready to prove you wrong, with a wink and a backflip. Bye Bye Birdie, 1963. If you've ever wondered what happens when teenage hysteria meets Eisenhower-era America, Bye Bye Birdie is your answer. But here's the twist. This musical, despite a hit Broadway pedigree and a cast firing on all cylinders, never really got its due in the movie world. The plot is deliciously absurd. Rock idol Conrad Birdie is drafted into the Army, so his manager and girlfriend hatch a publicity stunt to give one lucky fan a televised farewell kiss. Chaos, of course, ensues. Anne-Margaret turns the screen molten in her opening and closing numbers, virtually inventing the modern pop musical in a single hair toss. Dick Van Dyke brings vaudevillian charm. Paul Lynde is scene-stealingly hilarious, and Janet Leigh proves she's got comic timing as sharp as her cheekbones. But beneath the bubblegum, Bye Bye Birdie is a sharp satire on American celebrity culture, teenage obsession, and the ridiculous lengths people go for their 15 minutes of fame. Gene Kelly loved how it walked the tightrope between spoof and sincerity, an energy he championed in his own films. The choreography pops, the colors are atomic, and the laughs land. It's not just a relic, it's a blueprint for every pop musical that came after. Still think musicals are just fluff? Birdie dares you to sit still. Sweet Charity, 1969. Here's a musical that throws a glitter bomb at the American dream. Sweet Charity, helmed by Bob Fosse in his directorial debut, is a wild, brassy ride through the underbelly of New York nightlife. Shirley MacLaine stars as Charity Hope Valentine, a dance hall hostess with a heart so big it keeps getting her into trouble. Instead of Broadway glitz, you get neon-lit cynicism and choreography that's as angular as it is exhilarating. Fosse's style drips from every frame. The story, adapted from Fellini's Nights of Cabiria, follows Charity's endless, sometimes heartbreaking search for love. But the real magic is in the set pieces. Big Spender transforms a line of bored dancers into a wall of attitude, while Rich Man's Frug explodes with fashion, wit, and razor-sharp movement. The ending, famously bittersweet, is a slap in the face to fairy tale conventions. Kelly admired how Fosse dared to push the genre into darker, more adult territory while keeping the spectacle alive. It's not always happy, but it's honest, stylish, and unforgettable. Sweet Charity proves you don't need a happy ending to leave an audience cheering. Finian's Rainbow, 1968. Picture this: Fred Astaire, at 69, singing and dancing in a film directed by a 28-year-old Francis Ford Coppola. Sounds improbable? That's Finian's Rainbow, a whimsical, socially conscious, and slightly bonkers musical that refuses to color inside the lines. Set in the mythical Rainbow Valley, the story mixes Irish folklore, leprechauns, and American racial tensions, all set to Burton Lane's enchanting tunes. Astaire plays Finian, an Irish dreamer with a magical pot of gold, while Petula Clark brings luminous charm as his daughter. The plot? It's as wild as you imagine: wishes, mistaken identities, and a villain who literally turns black after being cursed. It's weird, sure, but also weirdly heartfelt. Coppola's direction adds a psychedelic touch, and the musical numbers range from satirical to swoon-worthy. Critics were baffled, but Gene Kelly saw the bravery in its offbeat blend of fantasy and commentary. He respected films that took risks, even if they stumbled. Finian's Rainbow isn't perfect, but it's got heart, color, and a sense of fun that's hard to bottle. If you want your musicals served with a dash of surreal, you've found your pot of gold. Scrooge, 1970, filmed in the 60s, released UK 1970. If you think you've seen every version of Dickens's A Christmas Carol, think again. Scrooge, starring Albert Finney, is more than just another holiday retelling. It's a musical that haunts, dazzles, and surprises at every turn. Shot at the tail end of the 60s, it infuses the old tale with big-budget showmanship and more than a little edge. Finney, barely in his 30s, but aged up for the role, gives us a Scrooge who's equal parts tragic, monstrous, and eventually utterly transformed. Leslie Bricusse's songs aren't just set dressing. Numbers like "Thank You Very Much" and "I Like Life" are raucous, witty, and infectious, bringing Victorian London to vivid life. But there's real darkness too. The spirits are genuinely unsettling, and the ghostly visions of regret land with surprising force. The film's choreography is unexpectedly boisterous. Who knew the afterlife could have so much rhythm? Gene Kelly admired how this adaptation took a well-trodden story and reinvented it, never shying away from its haunting or hopeful sides. Scrooge isn't just another Christmas movie. It's a full-scale musical redemption, proof that a little holiday magic and a lot of song can change even the hardest heart. Are you ready to be haunted in the best way? The Music Man, 1962. Before Confidence Man became a dirty phrase, there was Harold Hill, slick, silver-tongued, and ready to charm a whole town with little more than a grin and a marching beat. The Music Man drops you into River City, Iowa, where skepticism runs as deep as the river, and redemption comes dressed in 76 trombones. Robert Preston is electric as Hill, embodying both the huckster and the unlikely hero. Every musical number serves a purpose, building the town's world, from the rapid-fire patter of "You Got Trouble" to the jubilant parade that ends it all. What elevates The Music Man is its duality: nostalgia wrapped around a sly critique of American gullibility and hope. Gene Kelly admired the way this film balanced satire and sincerity, never letting the spectacle drown out the message. The choreography is exuberant, and the energy infectious. If you aren't humming along by the final scene, you might want to check your pulse. This isn't just Americana for its own sake. It's a celebration of second chances and the magic of belief, whether in a band or in each other. Oliver, 1968. Forget everything you think you know about Dickensian gloom. Oliver brings London's underbelly to life in glorious technicolor, complete with toe-tapping anthems and choreography that bursts off the screen. Yes, it won the Oscar for Best Picture, but over the years, it's become almost shorthand for family fare. Here's the truth: this film is packed with grit, wit, and dazzling showmanship. Mark Lester plays Oliver with wide-eyed innocence, but it's Ron Moody's Fagin who steals the show, part villain, part clown, and endlessly watchable. Add in Shawnee Wallace as the tragic Nancy and Oliver Reed as the menacing Bill Sikes, and you've got a musical that walks the tightrope between darkness and delight. Lionel Bart's songs, Consider Yourself, You've Got to Pick a Pocket or Two, and Papa are legendary for a reason. They turn every dingy alley into a stage. Gene Kelly saw the daring in this mix, taking a children's story and infusing it with emotional complexity, high stakes, and show-stopping choreography. Dismiss Oliver as a kid's musical at your peril. It's a full-throttle spectacle with a real edge, a film that proves musicals can be as tough as they are tuneful. The Happiest Millionaire, 1967. Imagine a musical where alligators roam the drawing room and etiquette lessons compete with boxing matches. Welcome to The Happiest Millionaire. This Disney musical, starring Fred MacMurray as eccentric Philadelphia millionaire Anthony Drexel Biddle, is pure 60s spectacle dressed in Edwardian finery. Greer Garson and Leslie Ann Warren round out a cast that brings real warmth and charisma to the mayhem. The story centers on Biddle's daughter, Cordy, as she navigates her way through family quirks, first love, and an America on the brink of change. The Sherman Brothers songs, especially Fortuosity and Let's Have a Drink on It, sparkle with wit and bounce, turning everyday moments into toe-tapping celebrations. Critics once called it old-fashioned, but that's precisely its charm. It's unashamedly sentimental, brimming with optimism, and never afraid to break out into song at a moment's notice. Gene Kelly loved how this musical turned eccentricity into an art form and family chaos into heartwarming comedy. If you're looking for an overlooked gem that radiates joy, with enough lavish costumes and Disney magic to fill a mansion, this one's a smile in Technicolor. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, 1968. Don't let the flying car fool you. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang is far more than a children's fantasy. With Dick Van Dyke leading the way as inventor Caractacus Potts, this film fuses adventure, slapstick, and whimsy into a madcap musical ride. Based on Ian Fleming's novel, it's loaded with eccentric inventions, a villainous baron and baroness, and the famously frightening child catcher, proof that this story isn't just for little ones. The Sherman Brothers songs, like the unforgettable title track and Toot Sweets, are pure earworms, carrying the film's wild energy from the English countryside to the candy-colored land of Bulgaria. But under all the whimsy, there's real heart, a widowed father, the loyalty of family, and the courage to dream big. Gene Kelly appreciated musicals that didn't just dazzle, but made you believe in the impossible, and Chitty delivers exactly that. It's a fantasy that reminds us grown-ups need magic too, and sometimes all it takes is a song and a bit of wild imagination to make the impossible fly. Camelot, 1967. There's a reason Camelot lingers in the imagination long after the final curtain falls. This isn't just a musical about legendary kings and epic battles. This is a sprawling, bittersweet opera about love, honor, and the painful cost of chasing an ideal. Richard Harris brings a surprising vulnerability to King Arthur. He's not just the ruler of the Round Table, but a dreamer always, one heartbreak away from unraveling. Vanessa Redgrave glows as Guinevere, her voice both delicate and defiant, while Franco Nero's Lancelot walks the razor's edge between arrogance and devotion. What sets Camelot apart is how it uses its dazzling Lerner and Loewe score, numbers like If Ever I Would Leave You and The Lusty Month of May, not just as decoration, but as emotional engines driving the story's highs and lows. The visuals are intoxicating. Misty forests, golden halls, and costumes that turn every scene into a painting. Yet, beneath all the spectacle, this film asks tough questions. What happens when your ideals can't survive reality? Can love truly conquer betrayal? Gene Kelly loved musicals that had the guts to blend spectacle with soul. And Camelot is that rare beast. A blockbuster that aches with longing. It's about the magic of dreams and the heartbreak when dreams crumble. For anyone who's ever yearned for a world just out of reach, Camelot is both a lament and a love letter. Don't just watch. Let yourself ache for what could have been. How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, 1967. Welcome to the jungle, the corporate jungle, that is. How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying takes the dog-eat-dog world of office politics and turns it into a riotous, razor-sharp musical satire. Robert Morse is electric as J. Pierpont Finch, a window washer with the ambition and luck to climb straight to the top of the worldwide wicket company. Every step up the corporate ladder is matched by a witty, kinetic production number. A secretary is not a toy skewers sexism with a wink, while Brotherhood of Man explodes into pure, synchronized chaos. But don't let the laughs fool you. This film has bite. The Office is a playground of schemers, dreamers, and backstabbers, and the script never lets you forget the price of success. The sets dazzle with bold colors and retro-futurist design, while the choreography channels the manic energy of a boardroom scramble. Gene Kelly saw this musical as proof that Broadway's edge could thrive on the big screen. Showbiz, razzle-dazzle, with a satirical core. It's a comedy, sure, but it's also a time capsule of America's corporate anxieties and a sly commentary on ambition run amok. If you think musicals are all innocence and romance, How to Succeed is here to burst your bubble with a grin, a song, and a perfectly timed coffee break. Who knew the rat race could be so much fun? The One and Only Genuine Original Family Band, 1968. You think politics and musicals don't mix? The One and Only Genuine Original Family Band is here to prove you wrong, with a toe-tapping score and a plot set against one of the wildest U.S. presidential elections ever. This Disney gem follows the Bauer family as they move to the Dakota Territory on the eve of the 1888 election, where Republican and Democratic neighbors turn frontier feuding into musical theater gold. The cast is stacked. Walter Brennan is a curmudgeonly grandpa. Buddy Ebsen dances with folksy ease, and a young Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn steal scenes before they were a real-life couple. The Sherman Brothers songs, especially Let's Put It Over with Grover, are sprightly, catchy, and loaded with sly political jabs. What sets this apart is its willingness to get messy. Family loyalty, civic duty, and romance all collide in a frontier America that's both nostalgic and slyly satirical. Gene Kelly, who always believed musicals could take on any subject, would have relished the audacity here. This is a film that turns a raucous town hall into a full-blown showstopper, blending Americana with unfiltered optimism. Overlooked? Absolutely. But if you want a reminder that musicals can be as feisty and relevant as the nightly news, this one's pure, overlooked magic. Goodbye, Mr. Chips. 1969. If you've ever doubted whether musicals can make you cry, Goodbye, Mr. Chips is here to call your bluff. This remake of the classic British tearjerker transforms the stuffy halls of Brookfield School into a place of song, heartbreak, and hope. Peter O'Toole delivers a quietly devastating performance as Mr. Chipping, the shy Latin teacher whose life is changed forever when he falls for the dazzling stage star played by Petula Clark. The numbers, from London is London to the haunting You and I, are woven into the film's emotional tapestry, not show-stopping for spectacle's sake, but to deepen the ache and joy of every moment. What makes this film special isn't just the music or even the performances. It's the way it captures a whole lifetime's worth of love, loss, and quiet courage in under 2.5 hours. Critics were divided on release, but Gene Kelly saw the artistry, a musical that dared to be introspective, wistful, and above all, deeply human. Forget razzle-dazzle. Sometimes, magic is just a man in a tweed jacket, quietly singing his heart out to an empty classroom. Goodbye. Mr. Chips is a lesson in why musicals endure, because even our softest goodbyes can be transformed into something unforgettable. So, there you have it. 17 musicals that Gene Kelly would have called pure magic, and not a single one of them coasting on cliché. Which one will you add to your watch list? Or are you ready to argue for your own unsung favorite? Drop a comment, hit subscribe, and let's keep this musical conversation alive. Because the real secret of these forgotten films They remind us that magic isn't just found in the spotlight, it's everywhere you dare to look. Keep watching, keep dancing, and keep the magic alive.